What's up, PokerBrandon here. This is going to be session 12 of my session videos. I am PokerBrandon. This is 5-5, no limit hold'em, $300 to $1,000 buy-in. I've been playing some 5-5. I've been playing some 2-3. I have not been posting videos because I've been playing lots of tournaments and I've been focusing on that. But anyway, let me get back into the action. Let's jump right into it. One of the first hands I play in my first orbit, I open at $15 with ace-10 offsuit. Button makes the call, and then small blind, 3-bets to 45. Pretty standard 3-bet, 3x. I go ahead and make the call with ace-10 offsuit. I think now if I was playing, I would actually 4-bet this hand or fold, but at the time here, I guess I just make the call. And we go 1v1 to a flop.
5-5 no limit, is over waiting first. 5-5 no
So during this 5-5 session, it's actually pretty short. This is a weekday night, and the players are not gamblers. They're grinders. Small blind checks this 5-3-6 flop. I have ace-10, and I really feel like I'm not going to win this hand with showdown. So right away, I just feel like maybe I can get small blind off of her hand if she has like an ace-king type hand, ace-queen suited. So I go ahead and bet pot because I do not want to get called, but small blind is going to make the call. And at that point, I'm a little bit upset, but I still have 2 overs and a backdoor straight draw. Okay, so turn is going to be an 8 of diamonds, connects the board better. Small blind is going to check, and I think looking back at it, I need to be bluffing this card every time. I'm bluffing the flop, and by checking, I'm pretty much giving up and giving up my money. And the reason I should have been betting that turn was because when the river came and then she checked the river, now I'm trying to bluff it out. I'm betting somewhat pot. I bet 250 into 300. And if I'm going to attempt to bluff on the river, I think I should always be attempting to bluff on the turn. Not attempting, I should be bluffing the turn. This is a great hand example of something I do. I get called and I lose to pocket queens, but this is a great hand example of something I do when I first sit down during a session. I tend to want to play my hand and I want to win the hand. This can be exploited very easily by any player at the table who's patient, because normally good players know that when new players sit down, they're going to try to play a couple hands right away, and they're not always going to be strong. So I would definitely be more patient when you're playing. Next hand is going to happen about 5 minutes later. Same orbit. Hijack opens to $20. I look down at ace-king offsuit, and I 3-bet to 75. I'm out of position in the small blind, so I go a little bit higher than 3x. Hijack thinks about it, and he's going to make the call. We're going to go 1v1 to a flop. During these 5-5 sessions, I did not 3-bet ace-king suited, ace-king offsuit a lot, but I think now, looking back at it, every time I get these hands, I think it's always 3-bet, 4-bet, because you really want to isolate with these somewhat deeper stacks compared to 2-3 no limit hold'em. Anyway, flop is ace 10-6 with 2 clubs. I do have the king of clubs, which is nice. And because this is the first orbit and I already showed that river bluff, I do feel like I can bet this and it's not going to look strong. So I go ahead and bet $100 because I don't think a c-bet here is going to really look like I have an ace after this player just saw me river bluff. The dealer goes ahead and lets me know that it's my turn. I knew that. I just like to take my time when I'm playing, think everything through. So I bet $100, and Hijack with a $675 stack takes his time, thinks about it, and he's going to raise me. He he puts out a raise of $250, and I really feel like he could have an ace in this situation, like an ace queen, ace jack, maybe ace 5 through 2. I don't think he has a flush draw because I have the king of clubs. I suppose he could have like a queen jack suited type hand, like queen jack of hearts. Does somewhat make sense. But because this is the first orbit I'm playing, I more so get the sense that he has an ace. And he really doesn't believe that I have it because I've already shown that I'm a river bluffer type guy. So because I feel like my image is more of a bluffy type of person, and I have never seen this player play,
there's a double
and I look at his stack behind him, he only has about 425 left. He already put in 33% of his stack. I feel like he's committed, so I raise right here to get him to just jam all in on the flop. But right when I put in my raise, you could see he grabs his hands, trying to comfort himself. And when I see that, I automatically know it's a mistake. I should have just called. You could tell he was stressed out the moment I put in that raise. He starts fiddling with his chips. He starts fiddling with his hands. He starts comforting himself with his hands. And you could just tell he's gonna fold. Automatically, you could just tell he knows that I'm strong. So definitely a mistake here, raising his initial raise here. But I'm fine with winning the pot now. So usually, yeah, when you see a player play around with their cards like this, they're just going to fold. But wait, this player announces that he's all in for the remaining of his stack while acting weak. Yeah, no, I was just kidding. He folded. So looking back at it, I think I should have just called there and saw a turn and could have got more money, but I'll take the pot. Okay, so 30 minutes goes by. I somewhat play like a nit for the rest of the session. I calm down a bit. And I'm in the big blind. A lot of chops are happening at the table. No one's really getting out of line. Low jack opens to $25. It folds around to me and I see king 5 suited. Low jack is the type of player to just really play his hand. Doesn't really get out of line. Raises the good hands, opens the good hands, bets his pairs. Has some slow plays in his sleeve, but he basically plays his hand. So seeing the king 5 suited, I elect to play him heads up because I know there's more of a chance I could steal the pot. I check it, he checks back on that 2 ace 7 flop. 7 of clubs comes, now I have a flush draw to the nut flush draw. I go ahead and bet this because I could really have every 7, I could have an ace, and he just lets it go. So it's a very simple player there. He doesn't really get out of line too much, and that was just a nice little steal after about 30 minutes of folding. Next hand, about 6:10 p.m., another 30 minutes goes by about. I'm in the hijack, and there's a low jack open to $20, and I see ace jack offsuit. Holding an ace jack offsuit, it's definitely a hand I want to play heads up. I don't want to play this multi-way, so I raise it 3x. I make it $60. And after being a very patient player for about 30 minutes, your 3-bets always look a little bit stronger when you're not 3-betting constantly. So even though I'm not holding the best ace, I can always rep the stronger aces. He calls and we go heads up to a flop. Flop is 7 ace 3. Low jack checks, and I check because I don't want low jack to fold after I c-bet this, and I kind of want him to catch up. I was hoping to see like a king or a queen there. He's definitely likely to have king, queens, 10's in his range.
DK to bring no limit DK for the 2
But
points.
I get a 2 of clubs, and instead of betting now, I felt like the board just got too scary. So I just take the extra safe route and check it.
Alex,
And then we go to a river, which is a 6 of hearts. And low jack just checks again. It just feels like he has nothing and he's given up. And my ace is probably good. I don't really feel like I'm gonna get any money out of him. I just bet $60, about half pot. And low jack is gonna play his very standard call when you have it, fold when you don't game, and he just lets it go. I show him that I had the ace just to let him know that I'm not getting out of line, and I also want him to know that I'm checking top pairs. Okay, about 30 minutes goes by. It's about 6:45 p.m. on this weekday night during session 12. And during this hand, we had a lot of posts. We have posts from multiple players, one player finally back from his break, so there's a lot of dead money in the pot. I'm in the no jack and I see jack 10 offsuit. It's not normally a hand I would always open, but because there's so much dead money, I want an attempt to take some of this money and win it. It's not my turn yet because there's an under the gun post to my right, so I gotta wait for him. I thought it was my turn, but it wasn't. So he's gonna go ahead and check his post. Now here I go. I open a $20. This would be nice if I just steal the pot with a $20 open, but I don't. Small blind is going to make the call. Big blind is also going to make the call.
No, he's on him.
Okay.
After wondering what's going on with the situation, I guess.
20.
And now under the gun
20.
poster is also going to make the call. We're going to go 4 ways to a flop. Pot is $90. Flop is $7.95. Not bad for jack 10 offsuit. I have a gut shot to the nuts. Small blind leads out to $25. He doesn't really have a big stack. He only has 220 behind. Definitely playable with jack 10 offsuit. Under the gun is gonna wait, think about it, take his time. And one thing to note about under the gun player to my right, he's a new player. He was drinking, he was playing somewhat of a drinking style. He makes the call and I make the call just to see a turn here. Turn is gonna give me the absolute stone cold balls, and small blind is gonna lead out. He bets 60, with leaving himself 160 behind. I gotta feel like he's committed right here. Feels like he just has a 6 or a set. It's the vibe I get. Under the gun, somewhat confused about what's going on. And also, under the gun seemed to not really notice that I was still in the hand. So, he makes the call. I notice his, the drink he has by his side, so I know he's gonna be playing a little bit more loose. And I don't want to scare under the gun away because he has more money. I don't want to raise here and scare him off. So I just make the call. River is going to be an 8 of clubs. It is one of the absolute worst cards, if not the absolute worst card to see on the river because it brings in a flush and a full house. And small blind is going to shove his small stack of $160. If he did have a set, he got there, and I'm going to have to pay that off. So at this point, I feel like small blind could have just a 6, and he sort of just said, whatever, I'm putting all my money in on the river. Hopefully he doesn't have a flush. That would suck. Feel like he had a set and he hit a boat. Under the gun thinks about it and just tosses in 1 chip. So he somewhat forgot that I'm still in the hand. But when I see him just call, I really get the sense he doesn't have a flush or a full house. Feels more like he has a 6 now. So I feel like I may not win against the small blind initial better. So I need to win some side money with under the gun here with my nut straight. trying to come up with a size here that under the gun has to call with like even a single pair, like a pair of 9s, maybe pocket jacks, 10s, which is really unlikely, but might be the case. I figure $200 more is the right amount to put out there to get under the gun to somewhat have to give out a crying call. And I'm praying I do not get raised when I put this bet out there. So I raised things up to $360. And under the gun somewhat needs some explaining to do with how much money he has out there and what's going on. The dealer counts out my chips, shows him that he has to pay $200 more if he wants to win the main pot. He's gonna think about it, and because he doesn't snap call, now I'm kind of praying that he does call. Happy to not see the snap. Small blind, as I put out the raise, did not look too happy. I noticed that. And I'm starting to feel pretty good with my Jack 10. After some thinking, under the gun is gonna finally count out $200. He could just say call, but I guess he wants to count out his chips. Some players are like that, and just got to be patient and let them do what they do. He makes the call. I show Jack 10, hope he doesn't show anything bigger. Small blind is very hesitant to show his hand. He shows that he had 2 pair, which got counterfeited. He just said whatever and put his money in on the river. And then under the gun flashes an 8-10 for trip 8s. Definitely makes sense why he was thinking about it a lot on the river. And I'm gonna win that one. Okay, and this session 12 is going to finish off with some hands that were played in the same orbit, pretty much. So about 2 minutes, 3 minutes later, 6:47 p.m., new player comes to the table. She sits down and opens to $40. Pretty big open. I'm in the small blind, and then we have Loosey Goosey to my right who makes the call. And I see pocket kings. I have played with the no jack player before, and the no jack player does have a lot of like pocket 10s, pocket 9, big opens where she will fold to 3 bets. So I do not want to scare her off of her hand. I do want to make her feel like she's gonna have the best hand if the right flop comes. So I just call. We go 3 ways to a queen 8-2 flop. I check it. She instantly checks behind. And knowing her, she's very standard, where she bets when she has it, she checks when she doesn't. So at this point, I feel like she might have like an ace jack type hand, and maybe even like pocket 7s, and she just gave up already. And then we have Loosey Goosey to my right. He bets out $80 to a $125 pot. My hand is extremely under-repped. I just make the call. And I'm sort of hoping to keep in the no jack, but no jack folds. Might have had just like a pocket 9s, pocket 7s type hand, ace jack offsuit, ace jack suited. Turn is a 2 of clubs, which is nice. So I do beat the random queen 8-2 pair hand that Loosey Goosey might have had. And after I check, button bets 120, a lot smaller compared to the ratio before. River is a 10 of clubs, and I'm not really losing to anything except pocket 8s, pocket queens, a random 2, and pocket 10s. I check it to let him keep on betting whatever he's trying to bet. But when he announces this $250 bet, I heard a weird, strange strength in his voice, so I got a little bit worried that he might have like a set of 10s or a set of 8s. So I just made the call, but felt like I was good and I was right. He had queen 9 of hearts and he was just putting money in the middle with top pair, no kicker. And I just took the safe route and made the call. Very quickly, same orbit, a couple minutes later, I'm in the no jack and I see an ace of spades. Loosey-goosey to my right, limps in, and I see ace king suited, not a hand I want to limp in with. So I raise to 20, my little standard open. But cutoff is gonna make the call. Very patient button player makes the call. Small blind makes the call. Big blind is gonna make the call, and worst case scenario, I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ways with ace king suited. Never want to see that. Flop is 8, 2, 4 with 2 clubs. I have a backdoor straight draw. I have a backdoor flush draw, and I have 2 overs. So it's not necessarily a bad flop. Could be worse. I count out 33% of the pot, and I'm gonna c-bet this because I could have all the best over pairs, and I could have a small chance of hitting pocket 8s here. But cutoff is gonna make the call, and then probably the last guy I want to see calling at the table, button is gonna make the call. And it's gonna fold back to me. We're gonna go 3 ways to a turn. Holding ace king suited, it's normally a hand I'm gonna continue to bet on if I'm playing now. On every street, as long as I have 2 overs. So during this situation here, if I was playing now, I would bet it. I would bet another 33 to half pot. But in this situation here, I check. Cutoff checks behind really fast, and then button checks. This river is going to be a 9 of hearts, and I don't improve to anything but ace high. I don't feel like I'm good here. We went 6 ways to a flop, pre-flop, and now we're 3 ways on this river. I just give up. I don't think it's always necessary to steal every pot. I think you have to be really patient and pick and choose your spots. Don't always try to win every hand. And it's a good thing I did give up because cutoff is gonna bet out $100. Feels a little fishy. And then button is gonna announce a pot size raise to $340. When this guy raises, he usually has it. I have not seen him ever bluff once after playing with him a couple of days and seeing him play for a couple of hours. I look back at my ace king suited to just admire how pretty it is, but knowing that it's not going to win this hand. And then cutoff is gonna fold. We're never gonna know what button has. And about 4 minutes later, same orbit, I have $2,500. Forgot to mention that I colored up some red chips, so you did not see the $500 stack that I had coming in after I won that first initial big pot a couple hands ago. And I was waiting on that color up stack to come and hit my table. But now you can see it. And here I am in the small blind after a low jack open, hijack call, button call. I see ace king offsuit. In the small blind, you never really ever want to be calling, period. Especially you do not want to be calling when you're holding ace king offsuit. I raise it up to about 120% pot and make it 100. When I played this session, I had a different view on my bet sizing. Right now, if I were to play ace king suited in this situation, I would raise this up to about 1.5 to 2x pot. So I would have bet about 150 bucks here on my 3-bet. But in this situation, I made it 100, and it folded all the way around to loosey-goosey on the button.
ARK for the 80 no limit. ARK.
With a couple beers by his side, and he's gonna make the call. When I peek over at his stack, I only see that he has 400 bucks behind him, so I'm somewhat willing to pay him off if he gets lucky with the set or some kind of two-pair hand. Flop is Queen 7 Ace. I check to give him the chance to bluff at it. Just bet a queen, bet an ace, and my plan is just to check jam. He checks. I feel like he has nothing. 10 comes. And if he got extremely lucky with King Jack, I'm somewhat already making a decision to pay him off. And I'm just going to check jam again. And mission accomplished. Button is going to push it in what is about $200, but the dealer is going to realize that it's 210. And I'm just gonna go with my read and go with my initial plan here. He only has 200 behind. There's 280 in the pot. So I push in a stack that covers him with my ace-king offsuit. And I'm just hoping that he did not get lucky with a two-pair hand or king-jack. I take my time a bit, even though I already decided what I was going to do, because I just don't want to look too strong. I want to make it look more like I'm thinking about the hand. And here I go, pushing in my stack that covers him. And he's going to snap call. I'm not too worried about his snap call because he's been snap calling with just top pairs, no kickers. I show my hand and he takes his time, but when the river comes, he shows Queen 10, and that's gonna do it for me. And after I had this bad luck, I just somewhat said, I'm leaving. I'm not gonna sit here and play on tilt. I was in for 1,000, I was out for 2,000. Thank you for watching session 12.